Blockbuster time.
I think Riot kind of like misaligned on how to allocate Malphite power budget. If anything, they just said, yeah, if you want to play Malphite, you should
he's
only play
strong
in jungle.
top too. He's strong top too. So
I mean, he's strong top, but
yeah, they made the note that they were focusing on both. So anyway, enough about the Rock Monster. Raafaa, we got to hop on into our picks and bans here. Looks like we've got Top Esports with first pick on the red side. So getting a little bit goofy here. And can't take a peek at what first selection was for all you guys at home. For those that are curious, I have been trying to keep track. Blue side does have a higher win rate so far, which, you know, not as surprised about that. It is a little bit weaker, though, than what blue side has been in the past. As I believe it was Top Esports that got first pick, and they chose to take first pick with first selection.
Yeah. So anyone's legend is on blue side for that. Just, by the way, guys, Varus is still insanely high prio, and Riot decided to buff it. Just saying. Anyway, going forward, Orianna still remains to be one of the highest priority mid laners for the patch, and obviously there's too many things to ban. Orianna is going to come through for Creme. Anyone's legend. If you want an answer into Orianna right away, I know people have been taking like the Syndra handshake matchup. I don't know what your favorite matchup is into Orianna these days.
I mean, I'm more focused on the fact that we're asking to get trundled here by NaiYou, potentially. As Sion has been slammed, and it isn't a zero answer. I think that options into Ori, I'm usually in the ban Orianna camp. I was not the best drafter in the Combine I was helping out with, but I think I got Ori once, and I banned it for the rest of the games. She is just... she does too many things too well, still at the moment. Between mid-push and then ability to team fight and consistency and utility. And man, Top Esports, they're going to take full advantage of that Orianna kit. We've got 2 dive bombers that are available, potentially, if it does end up being that Nocturne. But of course, Ambessa could act as one already, and Trundle, that value against Sion, very real.
More and more teams are realizing that Trundle is still very good in this meta, despite having kind of dropped in priority ever since the end of last split. Since
hey man, Pro Play's back, Subjugate's here. And you didn't mention Kiana. We'll see if Kiana's going to be an option here for Tarzan. But looks like Pantheon, which is, I think, a very, very strong champion always for Tarzan.
He could always go back to the Zed. Okay, he's just going to go for the Pantheon. Because Zed was kind of the answer into Trundle once he became insanely high priority back in Split 2. And Zed kind of destroys it. But Tarzan valuing the global pressure with Pantheon, as well as the ability to at least skirmish super heavily early on and provide some setup. Now, ganking for Sion and Azir early, probably not for Sion, but if you are able to burn flash off of Orianna before level 6, that does set up an easy play for either the Pantheon or the Azir to make again.
That's a good shout. I'd also like to see if AL can lock down a little bit more help in the front line for the Pantheon, as I think if Pantheon is allowed to operate and fight in the front line, he's a different champion than if it's difficult for him to. So I think taking away a champion like Aphelios, where with the right gun setups that can make fights really difficult for Pantheon, is actually a decent call. But I'd really like to see them take something like, I mean, Alistar potentially for Kael later on. I think that you're going to slam Yunara here, just given the Aphelios and the Kai'Sa bans are really setting up for this. And I think the bans for Top Esports are kind of setting up for an Alistar pickup here for Fengyue.
Yeah, they banned the Poppy, so it's kind of like a gamble. It's like either you get the Yunara or you get the Alistar. Which one do you think is more important for you? And the fact that Alistar doesn't really have a better counter outside of Poppy, there's some support matchups that you can try and just brute force either through power of range, which I know you said you wanted to advocate for more frontline to help with this Pantheon, but Lulu Yunara would give you push in this lane. It just really means that you are just banking on Sion and Pantheon to do all the heavy lifting in the 5-on-5.
I think thematically, Enchantresses would fit quite well here, as it is going to be Corki Alistar, and Kael's definitely a player that's willing to do it. So I think Karma Lulu are options. Polymorph can help you in the front line, and buffing up Pantheon can definitely help too. So you already have Sion there to hold the door, and I think Enchantresses plus tanks, you get a little bit more mileage with the tanks when you have an Enchantress on the team too. So I'm kind of with you, Raafaa. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see a Lulu here, or I think Braum's the other option, actually. It kind of helps Pantheon win frontline, as you can easily proc Winter's Bite. I just worry a little bit here about Engage for AL. I think it's kind of tricky for them to go in. Of course, you can have Pantheon over the top, but Braum isn't the best main engager. And definitely to be one where I feel like Ambesso Orianna or Alistar Orianna might have free reign. There aren't a lot of interrupts to stop those combos from coming in. Obviously, and best there's none. But Alistar, like, usually you can find something that might be able to help Alistar, you know, keep that big shockwave combo out. I don't really see that this game here for AL, so it's definitely going to be a minor concern that I have moving forward.
Yeah, for anyone's legend, I can see, like, we don't really see level 1s that often anymore, now that the game is a lot faster and level 1 waves come. But Braum Pantheon is quite insane in just setting up an early gank or just going for delayed invades. If Kael starts roaming with Tarzan's Pantheon, he becomes super deadly in the jungle, even if into a stat checker like Trundle, who just kind of brute forces his way through auto attacks and Qs and his W. But the other thing I will say that the Braum angle feels a little strange is that there's not many projectiles that you're really blocking that feels like big value, because you can't stop Orianna Shockwave going through if the ball carrier is already on someone and they blink, like the Ambessa ulti, or I guess if you can block Corki auto attacks, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel that impactful with the Unbreakable Shield. And I love having Braum available when Misfortune starts getting into the conversation, but we're gonna see if anyone's legend can make it work out, or if it'll be Top Esports trying to pick up a hell of a start in our series, first series of the night between anyone's legend and Top Esports.
You know, we have less time for JiaQi with the start time that we have this time around. We got to start hitting minions a little bit earlier. We've tick-tocked the game a wee bit.
I love that's how you refer to it. Quick check at the runes, though. Lethal tempos for both Yunara and Azir, so nothing out of the ordinary. Unsealed spellbooks for both of the supports as well, which kind of gives flashbacks to all the smites that would start coming out and having 4 smites as objective plays. All right, level 1 Braum value comes into play, forcing out an early heal from Fengyue's Alistar. And hope Kael will start to at least gain a little bit of advantage in maintaining control of the wave.
Good dodge there at the back half by Kael. Okay. Hope did a good job on cashing in on both the empowered Qs, but that might be a little bit of fighting for 2. But I guess Fengyue and JiaQi, they could have picked up that creep if they wanted to. But not gonna. I think level 3 is where you might start to look to fight if you are JiaQi and Fengyue. But they will not have a jungler on their side of the map. As NaiYou is heading north, and we do have Tarzan working his way down.
That's going to be the big thing to look at for Top Esports. Will their wave be in a position where they're going to be super unsafe and suspect to a gank from Tarzan's Pantheon, or are they just going to let Kael and Hope push it in? They proc the full facial passive from Braum. Yeah, we'll flash in for Hope. Whoa. Wait a minute, JiaQi and Fengyue just win the 2v2 straight up.
Oh my, I was not expecting that. I thought that Kael and Hope were doing a nice job of managing things there. I was about to compliment how Hope dropped the W as the trade came on in. But I'm kind of waiting to see if there was a summoner spell difference in the bot lane here. Because this is kind of disastrous here for AL. I guess Barrier was used earlier by Hope. I didn't catch that one. So there was no Barrier, and that was AL overplaying their hand.
Now NaiYou showing up on the top side. Flandre not in the greatest position. Thankfully, Soul Furnace Shield is enough to at least prevent forcing a flash out of him, but takes a lot of damage to 369 Ambessa, and Flandre gonna be forced to more than likely just take a recall and TP back to lane. Way too low to contest the wave.
All right, so when it comes to Flandre in this early season, is Flandre floundering? We're going to have to see. You know, the gold diff was just too funny to not include early on, as negative 369 is a little bit...
That's crazy.
It is a little bit too perfect, but hey, for me, so far, Flandre, it has mostly been tank duty for him with Scion Rek'Sai. I think that Flandre, when he was at his best last year, he was doing a good job of not only playing the meta, but also the counter meta. I feel like he was really quick to adapt that Aurora top. He was quick to get back into Cassante. He was the most dominant Scion that we had, especially early on in the split. And for me, I haven't really seen that same flair from him in this early season. So I'm not sure if it's one where, of course, he is hands down, you know, a more experienced member on this team. I think he's always been a role player on this team where, hey, this is just the role that we have you in so far in this early season. Or if it is a bit of an issue with Flandre, because a couple carry games that I've seen out of him, he had a really tough Rumble game, and the Aurora, a champion that I really credited him for being good at last year. One time we saw it, not too hot in this early season. So definitely a player I just kind of keep my eye on. As again, when it comes to AL, I feel like Hope and Flandre are the two players where I can somewhat poke holes into this team. Tarzan, Shanks, Kael, I have towards the top of the role, if not at the top of their role in the LPL outside of that. But definitely looking to see if Flandre can, you know, step up a little bit. It's early season, a lot of time left, but I have seen him be a little bit more of a narrow gap, a narrow pool, and I'm not used to seeing that out of Flandre usually.
Especially for him single-handedly bringing back Rek'Sai top in the LPL, and I don't think there was any other LPL top laner that made good use of that champion outside of Flandre, especially when it came to
the
split 3 and
yeah.
The Shy was until he played against T1, and then he did some egregious things. That was,
well, yeah, that was too bad. You know, he really was playing well last year, and now it's just like, okay, goodbye to Shy. Right.
Split 3, regular season, the Shy was a movie. Playoffs, it was still fine, and then T1, oh man.
He was an incredible Ornn. Like, the Shy was playing the tanks and playing the tanks so damn well. It was actually really fun to watch. His Ornn was very good. So anyway, getting back to this game, Dragon timer potentially here for AL, but given that early kill going over potentially to JiaQi, looks like Tarzan just doesn't want to pull the trigger on what could have been an early timer. I think that it's probably a no-go, but of course did wrap up his clear down there, and Draga was not looked at. So now Tarzan going back to base. NaiYou might be intelligent enough, you know, maybe syncing up this ward timer, getting some more information in the river, understanding that it is a mirrored pathing game, as Tarzan and NaiYou have been heading to doing the same camps on the opposite side of the map. Understanding that Dragon might be doable.
Tarzan is spotted by this control ward in the pixel brush, but he uses the empowered E for the movement speed, flashes in for the stun, but 369 with a public execution, and Flash tries to get away. Flandre, can he get in range for the slow? No, not quite. Decimating Smash does not connect, and 369 is out alive.
Well played by 369 to find Pantheon there. And I feel like Tarzan was kind of trying to mind game the W to not have it be interrupted by or buffered by Ambessa's R. And I don't know, I almost kind of want to replay of that because I didn't see the stun come out from Pantheon. That was a little awkward for me, Raafaa.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, without being able to see the replay, what would have happened in the crossfire, but you remember he used his empowered passive for
That's
E.
fine. That's fine.
So yeah, it did the movement speed, but it's a significantly shorter stun if you don't get the empowered one on the W, since it's throughout all 3 procs of the auto attack as well. So I wonder if the buffer duration of public execution was the same amount of time that he would have been stunned by just a normal W. So
yeah, I didn't see the animation.
Yeah. It just, anyway, well played. 2-3-6-9 gets out what could have been a bad situation and try to send him behind, since I guess he was ahead of CS, but Flandre just had to base and is taking the long walk, so there's a chance for 369 to catch up. For the rest of the map, because of that play invested by Tarzan, it did give NaiYou the window to look for first dragon of the game. Fengyue is currently hovering Creme on this timer, just making sure that, I guess, they can look for a quick wave shove into establishing control around the topside river right as the grubs do spawn.
Top Esports here. I think off to kind of a nice start. I mean, escaping that gank on the top side was a win. It got them the dragon. Also, Bot found the early kill, and Creme is doing a nice job playing this matchup out so far. In the Shanks, I mean, Orianna is here. The Orianna's up a wee bit, and pressure is there to make sure that NaiYou can take a clean grub. So this is AL kind of on the back foot, and like this is a 2-threat comp. And for me, I mean, Hope being behind like this early, I think is quite a big deal, Raafaa, because it's, you gotta imagine that they want to fight at a Kraken spike if they can get it. But with JiaQi being a little bit ahead now, if he's able to match with the Trinity Force, which is usually delayed, just given that you go tier and it costs a little bit more than that Kraken, I think if they miss out on that timer, I don't really know what the next timer is for AL to fight.
I think ever since that 2v2 all-in that went awry and was successful for JiaQi and Fengyue, it really put a hole in Tarzan's early game plan, because the fact that he was pathing towards bot lane on his early clear, you know that they wanted to set that up. And now that NaiYou is here on the top side, if he can wait for Flandre to get in position, he can easily just set up a pillar, slow him down, and ensure that he does not escape with the unstoppable onslaught. But Flandre, he's sensing something's up, so he's going to back off the wave for now and let 369 push in.
I think they're smart to wait for this one. It's a no-flash Scion. Pillar
he showed. Okay, well, there's the pillar, there's the public execution, but he buffers with the unstoppable onslaught. NaiYou tries to flash to interrupt it. Just one more auto attack will do the trick, but here comes the Grand Starfall, and the response from Tarzan is just that much greater. NaiYou now in a world of hurt because he flashed to try to stop Flandre from escaping. That's the all-star jungler coming in to bail out Flandre.
It is, but that was very well played by Flandre as well. I really want to give credit and kudos to him because you could kind of tell that the spidey senses were tingling. He was sniffing around. He was playing, angling the Qs away to not push the wave, trying to let it come into him. And the way that he played out of this gank, I really liked. As we're going to get a replay of this one. Again, for me, big one, you got to get around the pillar before he can press R. Does so, syncs up his R to match the public execution. That buffer comes out. Flash from NaiYou to try and stop him from getting too far into the turret. By this time, they could already see the Pantheon was incoming, and Tarzan was able to put the play, but really well played by Flandre on the way in. I think that he played that perfectly on the stall.
He went through the entire flowchart of what could happen, and he took every correct decision tree. Well done. Now, anyone's legend, that does give them a nice bit of a bounce back. Tarzan now with 2 kills. This means his Sunder Sky is going to come in that much more quickly. I think he should have enough gold off of this next Krug camp that he's basing after finishing. So if he has Sunder Sky, suddenly anyone's legend are now on a position where they can be really strong for this upcoming dragon fight.
Yeah, but if when this lower third for JiaQi goes away, take a peek at his items, he's going to have that completed Trinity Force in his inventory, and Hope doesn't have that Kraken yet. So I think Hope has to reset to try and get the Kraken Slayer, and if he does reset on this timer, that does open up the Dragon for one wave that could be very favorable for top esports. So we'll see if they take it. As long as Hope's here, they're just going to have an item advantage. So I feel like this Dragon should be favored for top esports, given JiaQi having that Trinity Force.
See what the decisions come out to be for both squads. NaiYou does get a chance to secure the Crab. They jump onto Creme. He flashes away, but Shanks falls up. Emperor's Divide. Swoop-de-whoop. Good night to Creme. And NaiYou is now in a position where he has to force the fight onto Shanks. Trades one back. Top esports bot lane is the first one to the play, but Tarzan blocks all the incoming damage with the Empowered Aegis Assault. Hope with the flash and the Arc of Ruin slows down NaiYou enough for Tarzan to slay him with the Comet Spear. JiaQi's the next one to fall. Fengyue makes it out alive, but anyone's legend are for the better on the play.
Creme, do not walk into that brush. The last time I was casting LPL, I watched Haichao walk into that brush in an illegal maneuver. That was also an illegal maneuver from Creme here, as they didn't have control over that side. They have control over the bottom lane Tri-Brush, and you can hold on Banana Brush if you actually want to go for the Dragon. I don't think you have to walk up that far as Creme. As taking a look, look at the control they have. Look where the bot wave is. They have control over the bot side. It's, you can check with your Q. Throw a Q in there. Creme, don't walk in like this. Oh, it's... oh, just a disaster. As frankly, it is, because that should have been a Dragon we were talking about. This going the way of top esports. And again, when it comes to top esports, it is on Creme. It is on 369, I think, to be the best, to play better. That is a rookie mistake from Creme walking into that brush, and it makes life hard for his young core of 3 who are not going to be able to win or fight off the rest of AL. Tarzan has the Sundered Sky. He was able to get involved, and Orianna being taken out like that before the fight was able to really even start was disaster for top esports.
Yep, that's AL, the second Dragon of the game, and ensures that top esports are not putting anyone's legend on a timer for Dragon's Soul. Role quests have been accomplished by a majority of the field so far. It's just supports that are missing out, but we have item spikes coming in now, and it's a big shame for top esports because, like you pointed out, Hope did not have Kraken Slayer before that fight. They should have been in a position where they felt at least confident enough, despite the fact that Tarzan had his Sunder Sky beforehand. But now everyone is pretty much on item parity outside of the mid laner, since they did go for their tier 3 boot purchases. But this is now a game that Top Esports, through the bot lane, had given them an unexpected window, and anyone's legend have been able to just get past that point.
Well, with the help of Creme, yes. Creme is going for a bit of a higher damage build this game with a Blackfire Torch. I assume we're going to see a Leandri second, as there's a Scion in the game, and a beefier front line. But interesting, I mean, usually this is the angle where we see the Roa, especially as you don't have, like, a true traditional tank on the side of Top Esports. Of course, Subjugate, Trundle on the Scion's going to help out quite a bit, but interesting to see Creme going for more of a damage build this game.
Now, do you prefer Blackfire Torch build for Orianna, or just the raw burst of Luden's Echo? Because
I actually think Blackfire Torch is stronger than Luden's. Especially for Ori, it's really easy to be involved in combat as her. And as long as you're involved with combat, that item scales nicely with Ori. So.
But Matt, Luden Echo proc go boom. Yeah, go boom
damage.
It's a lot of boom boom. I almost thought that we were about to get another boom boom in that bottom side jungle, because that was one of the places that anyone's legend did get pretty much pwned by BLG in their previous series.
Tarzan's close. He's ulting.
Uh-oh, 369 forced to flash away, but here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Does not connect. 369 able to dodge it, but a flash for the mocking shout into the slow. But Fengyue comes in, pumps away Tarzan, and now Flandre might be in danger. Needs to wait for another soul for the shield. The pillar is there. Massive glacial fissure for the knockup from the back line. What's happening on bot side? Hope just beat JiaQi in a 1v1 and back to top lane. Now NaiYou's on the run. Anyone's legend is winning out once again. They lose Flandre, but a price of 1 death for 3 kills. I take that trade all day, every day.
I thought that they were going to have the numbers advantage when Creme was coming in, but Creme got taken down very quickly off the TP. And that ended up going back in favor of AL with Tarzan just, running the map. He's now 6-0-1 on Pantheon. Tarzan is a beast.
This is the Tarzan we have come to know and love, especially on this Anyone's Legend roster. And it's not like this isn't a form that Tarzan hasn't been in before, but when we saw Anyone's Legend first hit their peak in 2025, it was off of performances like this. Let's take a look back at the replay.
Yeah, so Tarzan, we saw him walking up the river. I called out that he's casting the ult, which, given how 369 is walking out, is probably coming in. He's going to do his best to escape. I thought the Fengyue actually did a nice job of stalling here. The booting away Tarzan is smart. He might have been able to hold his Q to find both later on. But what happens with Creme as he lands? I thought the pillar canceled the Q. Oh, it's a great glacial fissure coming out. That's really well played by Kael and Tarzan. They just focus right on Creme. They're not going to waste their time with the Ambassador, the Trundle. They're going to take down the damage target, and Creme remove him immediately.
Hope's in trouble, still has flash. He uses it, but he's getting flashed up by NaiYou as well, but he gets away! The peeling and the space provided by the rest of his team allows him to escape. He heals a little bit. Tarzan goes back. Then the shockwave misses on the Tarzan. He finally goes down. But at this point, it's just an Anyone's Legends fight to win. Triple for Shanks. It's almost looking like a quadra, but Hope picks up the last kill, and this one is looking done and dusted.
I think it's GG. It's 4K gold lead for AL, and no towers have fallen. They can really pressure these towers, get a lot more gold in their pockets, and I don't know what happened to kick off this fight from Top Esports. But, I mean, frankly, looking at a few sloppy fights coming out from Top kind of back to back to back here, Raafaa.
Oh my God,
369.
369! Oh no, Flandre. Well, we've hit that point in the matchup where the tank is strong enough to solo kill the split pushing carry top laner. This is not an ideal scenario for Top Esports. This probably is GG.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I really like how Tarzan pathed to target the Ambessa. I think that taking the Pantheon, that global presence, and just ensuring they can win that 2v2 topside was a big difference maker.
Fight continues. Oh boy, and the tempo taken advantage of by Tarzan with the Grand Starfall completely isolates Fengyue. NaiYou cannot get in to bail out his support. It is just Anyone's Legend. What? Another 1v1? Okay, both kills going down.
That's a nice shutdown for JiaQi.
Yeah, 760 gold in the pocket. I'll take that if you are JiaQi.
Yeah, I believe Hope did have barrier up. But how did this one emerge? JiaQi! Oh, okay. I mean, I guess they have numbers. And then, yeah, this is where NaiYou got just stunned up by Tarzan, was mid-auto, wasn't able to peel off Hope. I don't know if I love this take, though, just because like, I don't really see the angle, like, from the play kicking off where top can win that outside of Tarzan's on Herald.
What the hell is happening?
As
Okay, well,
the chaos continues.
Yep. Welcome to LPL. If this is your first time watching, this is what happens in these games. It's just fighting all the time, every time. Flandre does not go down because he's way too tanky, but they did drop one in the crossfire.
Like, watching these fights start with, like, Corki valking in and catching Bromq even, just, like, this is where with top, like, I mean, it's so clear to me that, and to anyone that watched this team in years past, this was a team that was dictated by Cubby. He was the one that was running the early game through him, right? So, when you get a player like that that leaves this team, you know, who is it on the shoulders of that at least try and provide some of that direction? Is it going to be the 3 relatively new players, or is it going to be the 2 remaining now veterans in 369 and Creme? It should be those 2. And I think that the plays we've seen 369 and Creme try so far in this game, they've fallen flat. And when the core 3 tries to make a play and it falls flat, I feel like it's less blame on them. Obviously,
I agree.
You know, given the variance, versus the guys that should have learned from Konami that have been on this team playing high-level games for the past 2-3 years. And we're just not seeing that from 369 and Creme so far this season.
And it's been the focus of pretty much all of our discussions about top esports every time we come into a series for the day. As 369 in a world of trouble. Good shield on the repudiation, but just not enough to survive the dive. Does open up a window for NaiYou to secure the 3rd dragon, overall 2nd dragon for top esports, but it still feels like a long shot to get back in this game and climb against the deficit of 5,000 gold.
Yeah, this focus on the 369 has been very nice.
Oh, no.
In Tarzan this game. As, bounced off the pillar.
Yep. Unlucky for NaiYou. I don't know if he was spotted on a ward going for the invade, but he was trying to get some information to see if he could steal a camp or 2. Is down overall 2.1 thousand gold. Tarzan already has a full item advantage over him, working on what I believe is going to be a death stance for GA. And there's no jungler here at 21 minutes, so anyone's legend feel bold enough to just force his Baron.
Andre's level 15, holding the door. And yeah, I don't know if they can get in. Shanks pumping against Creme there. He's already at half. And they can leave Sion.
Hang on, they're not burning down this Baron fast enough, I believe. It's still at 5,000 HP. So, one of the things that we've learned about this season, Matt, is that Baron is incredibly harder to kill, even though it spawns earlier in the game, and it shreds you so hard. So, teams have got to be careful when pulling the trigger on it, as anyone's legends show enough patience and restraint to not get blasted by it, but it does allow top esports get a tier 1 turn in the mid lane off of it.
They were respectful of the potential Orianna combo coming in with the resistance shred, as Baron shreds both armor and MR. This season's no longer just mostly MR. But yeah, they made the objectives tankier, the epic monsters, to encourage some more team play, and glad to see nice ones so far this season. I think overall, the season's been a hit. I'd say more positives than negatives for sure. And speeding up the game has been fun. I feel like, in a way, there's more opportunity for kills and also less opportunity to get punished. Just because home guards for Shanks.
Good flash by Shanks to dodge the public execution, but oh boy, that could have been dicey. The fact that Fengyue had pulled a Fnatic Death Rush onto the mid laner for anyone's legend almost was a nice way to at least look for a punish. There's still no dragon for another 2 minutes and 45 seconds, so anyone's legend just kind of piss chilling and seeing if they can reestablish vision control on the top side river.
I just don't see a way in for them this game. Like, the best people that they can send in are Ambessa. I feel like that's the best ball carrier, and 369 has just been set miles behind by Tarzan and Flandre in the focus that they've had, which is, I think, why I like the focus that we had for AL this game. You can use Braum as a stabilizer versus Alistar in that bot lane, just as a neutralizer, and then really attacking top hard and using these Grand Starfalls to play around some of the Trundle timers, whether it's matching a Trundle gank, which we saw it be used very well early on by AL, or by finding a gank where they know Trundle's not there. It's been very, very nice from Tarzan on a pick that we always know Tarzan can perform quite well.
For the most part, this split so far, Tarzan still has been in stellar form. There's been a couple games.
It's LPL, it's Tarzan, and it's the jungle.
Yeah.
He's. I still feel like he's the strongest jungler we have in this league. It's been very fun to watch him play, as always.
For sure. I would love to see Tarzan be one of the first ones to bring in an AP jungler into this meta. I don't know if it's going to happen in this series, but it was something that I was really glad that you...
Is that the first one?
Yeah. Well, legitimately, I think Echo might be better mid lane because we have a lot of Syndras being played, and Echo, if I remember correctly, is a really great matchup into Syndra.
It's a risky one, but it's a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the best AP jungler you can pick that abuses Dusk and Dawn is Diana. I think Echo still takes a little bit too long. He scales insanely well, but I think you need a little bit of playmaking once you hit level 6. And
yeah, I think Jungle Gwen got nerfed going into the next patch too. Because I know we only have today and tomorrow on this patch.
Yep. Flandre getting engaged on with a subjugate. Tarzan jumps onto NaiYou's face first. Decimating Smash gets another knockup, but it's a follow-up from the rest of Top Esports trying to barrel on through. Flandre eventually brought down. Kael with the flash looking for the Glacial Fissure onto the back line, but rest of Top Esports, they've already taken their kill, and the flash from Kael to dodge the public execution. It could have been another setup for Top Esports just in time, 30 seconds before the 4th dragon of the game spawns.
That's nice. Could be a sole point here for Top Esports. I do like that call. And a nice play from Fengyue, who I know this hasn't been the best game for Top. I feel like Fengyue has overall not been the problem. That was a good combo, good direction from them, as they were actually able to beat the 2v2 that has been crushing them for this game in Flandre and Tarzan. Remove the Scion. Now, Flandre does have TP up, and Top Esports do not look like they feel strong enough after using those tools to actually contest the objective. They don't have access to Subjugate. They don't have access to Public Execution. They don't have access to that Unbreakable Will. So I think that's going to be enough to just probably cede the Dragon to AL if they are able to recognize that Top are mostly on this top side so far. And yeah, I think Tarzan just figured that out now.
Yeah, there's like a nice window where Top Esports just immediately beelining to the topside river. Anyone's Legend took their time to make sure that they could all move in at once so that they didn't get pounced upon by Top Esports waiting in the river for this dragon fight. But in the end, Anyone's Legend does pick up the dragon, and Top Esports in exchange will at least establish some vision control on this topside river for the Baron.
I thought it was actually a nice sequence from Top. Like, even just sacking the dragon and being like, all right, we're going to get some control over this top side. We're going to give this up.
Agreed.
Used our tools. I think that was the right call and got them something. Now, can they hold on to that real estate? Probably not. AL is still a team that is able to throw their weight around in terms of gold. But hey, you know what? I mean, the scaling is decent for Top. If Mbessa can get a 3rd item, I think that could help a lot, because 369 being this far behind, I think, is still probably the biggest issue for Top Esports. But Trundle Subjugate, nice later on. Almost have a death cap coming in for Creme. And JiaQi's at 3 items now with the BF sword in tow. So this isn't the worst spot right now for Top Esports if they can find a fight where they can maybe punish some of those summoner spells that were taken away. I think Tarzan's Flash is the furthest from coming back up, and I know that he has a GA in his Pantheon, but if they could find numbers anywhere in the control, I think that that's definitely a target they could look on.
JiaQi is relying on his Flash and his Valkyrie to reposition because he only has tier 1 boots. This guy is not that fast. So if he gets snagged by any semblance of CC, it might be cooked for him. There's no Mikhails, there's no cleanse either. And Kael and Tarzan could just be looking very hungrily at this Corki, despite him being still quite strong enough to fight in this next setup for the Baron. Flandre's just maintaining 369 on the bottom side, and it looks like any possibility of a skirmish fizzles out for now.
Is this comebackable for Top Esports with Creme now at death cap? I mean, if they find a big fight, like if you make Yunara go boom or you make Azir go boom, there's definitely defense that both have, but I think it's winnable for Top Esports if they are able to find that connection.
What's Flandre's shutdown? Oh, I guess I can't tell if he actually has a shutdown or not. That's his soul furnace stacks.
Yeah, he does.
Now I understand. I was like, why does that number look significantly different? Hang on, Glacial Fissure on to 3. It allows Kael to escape and engage from Fengyue. Took about almost half of his HP as punishment, but does make it out alive.
Yeah, it's an ult for nothing. So that's a loss for AL, and going to give Top Esports that crab and more control over this top side.
Dude, Top Esports just oh, it's so dangerous. Because if you get shredded and then Shanks and Hope just rip you apart, that's not ideal for top esports. I feel like you would just rather try and force anyone's legend to start the Baron so that you can capitalize on top of that. But
I think getting 369 gold was the biggest win they could have gotten in that last sequence, and they did so successfully. So if you can just utilize the control that you've gotten over the top side to buy time for that Ambessa to hopefully catch back up where she can be relevant in this game. We've seen what level 20 Ambessas have done this season. It's been pretty gross what this champion can do if she's not completely out of the game, as AL has been successful at so far, really keeping 369 on this Ambessa down.
Already level 16 now, max rank on that public execution. So this is quite the scary top laner to have to play against in this game, even if AL did a lot of damage to slow her down against the curve. It's still nearly a 4,000 gold advantage game for anyone's legend. The 5th dragon of the game is spawning in 1 minute and 20. Anyone's legend top esports effectively have one more play in the next 10 seconds before they have to start shifting their vision over to the dragon side.
I'm just curious if top, because it feels like the items that top, okay, I say that, hope this wrapped up in IE in his inventory now. But I was seeing Corki with IE and not Hope, and I was like, man, I mean, is this fight winnable or playable? I think that it really is just going to come down to trying to catch Hope, where they either catch him out and get an early kill, or you could force out the Transcendence early on if you got a sidestep, a public execution, or a shockwave. That I don't know if that's worth it, but I think that not fighting Transcendence is probably the biggest key for top. Is, oh boy,
ripping it.
I think Fengyue just based on vision.
It's been spotted, and unfortunately, NaiYou cannot get into the pit fast enough. Anyone's legend ripped the Baron when top esports were least expecting it. And that is a free objective. With the dragon coming up in 9 seconds now, I imagine anyone's legend, they can just be like, you want to fight for the dragon? Go for it. We're going to push into your base.
I want to say Fengyue was outside the brush basing, and the ward in that red side brush caught him. And I think that's what AL kind of ripped this off of. But man, that's a big mistake. JiaQi taking that damage bad.
Remember, he doesn't have boots. I think he already used his Valkyrie. Still holding on to the flash and the barrier. Big shockwave, though. Tarzan gets dropped. He's still at the GA. Shanks goes flying in. Good night, JiaQi. Shanks has done his job and assassinated the AD carry. A flash from Creme to try and take out Shanks and make a trade. He goes golden. He stalls time. But Creme could be the next on the chopping block, and with a common spear to the head, he goes down in the dirt. Anyone's legend find the final window, and we'll close out game 1.
Hope was able to get out, keeping 369 down all game. Pays off in the last fight for AL, as 369 could not connect on Hope in the backline. Hope did play that fight out very well. He got low, but he flashed the public execution, able to use the Transcendence to kite enough with the Braum passive to survive. And while that wasn't the case for JiaQi on the other side, thanks to Shanks, he's the only one in the gray screen. He gets his team to win.
Definitely took a while in the mid-game for anyone's legend to close the game out off of what we felt like was a distinct advantage. But the Pandas finally get the job done in the end off of very, very successful timers in pretty much the last 2 minutes of the game here.
Yeah, that game ended quickly off the Baron. And I think that for me, a couple moments around mid-waves, we see JiaQi eating damage or Velking in. I think playing a little bit higher variance than what I'd like to see out of my marksman at that point of the game. And it got punished at the end. I mean, him going down, I think losing half his health on mid-wave definitely enabled Shanks to get in that backline and take him down. Whereas, of course, 369 was really focused and kept behind all game. He was in the backline against Hope, but couldn't take down Hope, and that was the difference in the final fight. That and having a Baron buff, which was able to be snuck under the noses of top esports. They did not sniff that one out. That was a pretty big loss, too.
Yeah. And it's a shame for top esports because you almost think, and you go back at this game, of all like the random times they overforced a fight or they lost out on a couple of kind of key micro mistakes, whether it's Creme face checking the line brush or Kael and Tarzan.
That's bigger than a micro mistake there. Yeah.
Well, Yeah, I'm trying to be nice, but yeah, that was egregious. And then the top lane play, where it seemed like Top Esports had numbers, but it was credit to Kael and Tarzan syncing up Braum passive with the full CC wombo of both Pantheon and Braum to ensure that that fight goes their way. It still took a while for Anyone's Legend to close out the fight, and there was some semblance of intelligent moves by Top Esports to at least keep themselves in the game. Had they not been in a state where they were down that much gold to begin with, who knows? Maybe they could have actually found a better fight later on. I
mean, it was like 15 or 17 minutes in. It was a 4K gold lead for AL. They hadn't taken a single outer, and we're kind of looking at the game like, all right, this is probably over, right? I think the top do deserve some credit for fighting their way back in, but I think the big picture of direction, right? We were kind of nitpicking AL's direction as a team. Like, hey, we didn't like this draft. We didn't like this play, or we thought that, like, this was a weird timer to take. We still see cracks like that throughout the game, but not really. Like, I think their direction was actually very sound in terms of focusing down 369 and keeping that Mbessa out of the game. That was a big difference maker for me in some of these fights later on, where Hope was able to run away with things. Whereas for Top Esports, I still don't know what the direction for that game was. I feel like, you know, trying to win the top 2v2, like once the Pantheon came in, was kind of hard to do. And they weren't able to focus down Shanks. We saw JiaQi get an early kill, but didn't do enough with it going up against Hope as they traded back and forth throughout the game a bit. And I just don't see, like, for top, you know, were we able to set up like really clean grubs, like really clean Drake? I mean, they were able to get those things early on. They still ended up falling behind because Mbessa was kept out of the game, and AL really ran away with that as they played out their comp rather soundly.
It's interesting because you look at moments that Anyone's Legend probably had a game plan through bot lane, and that got fumbled early by Hope and Kael. I don't know if it's mostly Hope's fault and if Kael had no credit to blame, but mostly JiaQi and Fengyue getting the better of them. That probably stopped Tarzan from wanting to play through bot lane with the early advantage on the Corki. But then he's given an opportunity to come back because Flandre outplays the gank from NaiYou and 369, buys enough time for Pantheon to come in. So with both of the junglers pathing to the lanes that they decided to path to in the opening rotation, that always, for me, gives me the indication of where these junglers want to leverage or which lane they want to leverage the most. And the fact that obviously Tarzan was given a window to come back in the game because of this punish, but I think both junglers were kind of hoping, okay, I'm going to path bot lane and we're going to get an advantage to bot. Oh, my bot lane died. Okay, well, I guess I can't really play around bot lane anymore. And for NaiYou, it's like, okay, I'm going to help this Mbessa. Oh, wait, Flandre got out. Oh, here's Tarzan. Okay, well, guys, I don't know what to do anymore. How do we play the game?
Yeah, I mean, Flandre did play that gank out really well. I'm getting a chuckle out of Creme checking that brush again. I don't feel like Orianna was impactful enough until probably the final fight or the final two fights in this one. I mean, even this, like, I can't really blame top too much for losing out on this. I know I didn't love JiaQi Velking in there. It makes things a little bit too volatile for me, but Hope was so close to going down. I just don't think they win the play, even if they get Hope here in the back half, as another stinky shockwave there. Yeah, I think the Creme has really had a tough start to this year in Split, and I still really feel like that's a big story with Top Esports, because again, he's someone that needs to be more experienced on this team now, and I think that I'm just still seeing a lot of minor mistakes from him. And obviously, I mean, NaiYou and Cubby, like, yeah, Creme is downgrading in jungle, like, no one's gonna question that, but Creme is going from being a younger player on the team to one of the older voices, and for me, it just doesn't feel like he's done enough to stabilize the game or like be someone where you can really build off of. I'm still talking about Creme the way I was talking about him back in OMG. It's just like the allure and the promise of year one isn't there, and I just haven't seen this player evolve to really be one of those mid laners that, like, you can build a championship winning team off of for the LPL. And yeah, they won Split 1 last year, but this was still a team that I feel like they only went as far as Creme could take them. And that was an issue at many points of last year.
Damn, the point got super solemn, and it reflected immediately in Cubby's room lighting. right away.
My roommate's going to bed. You know, he had to hit the all power off, and not me. It's late here in the LPL.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's the brutal reality of competition, right? Whether it's esports or traditional sports, right? Like, if you have a star player like Kanavi on your roster, and you have players coming up who are the younger version, or not younger versions, but just like younger to them, and then are asked to step up in their place, it doesn't matter if your replacement for them is not as great as your prior player was. The burden falls to you whether you want it or not. That's the price of playing and trying to be the best in your league. And if Creme wants to be part of that next generation of mid laners, also shout out to Tarzan for playing at the game. I think that was pretty much expected. But
he's already got 5
Creme,
MVPs.
Yeah.
So he's been MVP in every game that AL's won, pretty much.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they won 2-1 in one of their series, or one of their losses.
He's on track alongside Knight for most player of the game awards.
Who could have possibly guessed that?
I mean, listen,
between Tarzan and Knight.
Yep, the two players contesting best player in the league. That's crazy. But one of our possible candidates, best player of the league, did get solo killed by HongQ. So we'll see how many MVPs HongQ can wrap up for himself over the course of the 2026 season. But that is game number 1 wrapped up in the books. So you already know what time it is. But before we toss it over to break, we want to remind everyone that if you would like to support LPL English, consider becoming a Coffee member, because Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. Because a lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. So subscribe to our Coffee, linked in the chat below, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. More top esports and anyone's action. Wow, hang on. Take two.
I know Alistar was in the last game, Raafaa.
I know.
Close. Cut a little close there.
More anyone's legend and top esports action coming your way after this break.